Hello, I'm Greg Jamian, and welcome to Boomer Health at Home. As more baby boomers receive medical services at home, there are many questions that pop up that require sometimes quick answers. I have put together a series of short segments with healthcare professionals that will help explain how things work, along with answers to common questions found in home-based care. I hope you find the following information helpful.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Boomer Health at Home. I'm your host, Ryan Donlin. Today's show we're going to discuss the holidays, party, food, and allergies, and how to avoid your party from turning into a party disaster. Today to talk more about the topic is RN for AmeriCare Medical is Lisa Plinus. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Thank you. So this is a topic that seems, if you don't have a lot of education on it, it could really become a dire situation. Mm-hmm. What would you say was a big, something that you need to know if you are going to host a party to avoid a party disaster?
Well, firstly, hosting a party is a big responsibility. The first thing would be to check with everybody that's coming to the party, if anybody has any food allergies. And if they do, I would encourage the host and everybody that's bringing any dishes to the house to be aware that somebody has a food allergy and what the food allergy is. And then also to keep labels. Keeping labels of things that you've made is really good. Then that person who's coming in with the food allergies can read the label. There's a lot of hidden ingredients in labels that people that do have allergies, such as a dairy allergy, for instance, those little hot dogs that you get in the store that a lot of people use as cocktail, appetizers during the holidays, have milk in them. So it's a dry milk ingredient in there. So then again, a person with a dairy allergy, would not know that unless the label was kept and they were able to read that. But I would encourage anybody, the host especially, to oversee and make sure that that person is reading the labels and letting the person that has the allergy, or if they're a child, letting the parent know. Just try not to keep anything in the house that has, if it's a nut allergy, nuts, just pretty much anything. But everybody needs to know what allergy that person has.
Oh, great. So what is an allergy? I mean, that's the question. You hear these food allergies, people say, I'm allergic to this, or stuff of that nature. How does it work? How does the body become allergic to food?
Well, the body builds antibodies, and when it's exposed to something that rejects, that the body already throws off an allergic reaction where it causes vasoconstriction. Throat can feel like it's tightening up. A lot of people don't have any external signs and symptoms. They have internal, like maybe stomach cramps. Worst case scenario is the throat closing up. So we need to get rid of that vasoconstriction and open all the vessels and airway. And by doing that, your doctor would prescribe an epinephrine pen.
Okay.
And usually if the allergic reaction isn't severe, but they kind of feel there's some symptoms starting, then they would probably take an oral Benadryl over the counter, and that usually may work, because the last thing you want to do is inject epinephrine if you don't have to.
Right, so epinephrine is injectable, and then Benadryl would be something that would someone be carrying this on their own, or is it something you could give someone over the counter? And
okay.
Or how do you determine how to help your friend out if they are having an allergic reaction, I guess?
Well, just to educate yourself, if you have a friend or somebody and they're going to be frequently around you, you really need to educate yourself and ask. And that person that has the allergy also should be telling people around them, in the event this happens, make sure, give me the Benadryl first, this is where it's at. And worst case scenario is tell people how to inject the EpiPen, which is usually in the right or the outer part of the thigh, right through the clothing. You don't have to take anything off.
Okay.
So that's something that is a prescription, and yearly, it expires yearly, the pen, and there's just other things to look for, make sure it's not discolored, the liquid in the syringe, and then that person with the allergy should be carrying that on them at all times.
Great. Now, an allergy, is this something that you're born with? Is this something you can develop over time? Like as an adult, if I'm not allergic to something now, is it something I should be afraid of that could happen to me later?
Absolutely, yes. It is, statistics, they really don't know if it's something that you're born with or you develop later in life. There's a lot of saying, they're thinking a lot of people now that have allergies that we didn't have, 30, 40 years ago are because of overexposure to foods. A lot of people that have allergic reactions to dust and dogs and dander and all that they're assuming people are too clean nowadays. This is what an allergist told me when I took my daughter in there just for some allergy testing, is like, we sanitize our hands, we're antibacterialing everything, and our bodies are not being exposed like they used to, so they're not able to build up antibodies.
Right, so if you are hosting a party, that day before vacuuming, cleaning up might be a waste of your time then. You can kind of keep that going. That's good to know.
Yeah. But as far as developing an allergy later in life, and I can give you an example, I had a friend who was around 40 years old, or I have a friend, and she had eaten eggs almost every day of her life because they lived on a farm. Well, one day, it was on a Sunday, her husband made her breakfast, she ate the eggs, her throat closed up, she was very close to death, they had to call the EMS. So this is something, again, over time, you don't know. My daughter has a peanut allergy, and her allergist told me, I wanted to know, I educated myself and wanted to know how she could possibly get that. Is it going to get better? Is it going to go away? And the pediatric allergist told me that if I would not have nursed her, and she would have probably got the antibodies through breast milk, that she was exposed at that time to my antibodies, which protected her, and it showed me some symptoms early in life with her when she was 2. So when I had her tested, as opposed to her not being exposed to those antibodies, and he said possibly she could be sitting in a restaurant at 30 years old, have a full-blown anaphylactic reaction and die. So there's a lot of controversy on what really is, if you can develop it later, or, if you're exposed to it as a child, or if you have antibodies. You just have to really research.
Can adults be tested? Like you said, your daughter was tested
Yes.
too. Is that something, if you think, hey, I ate something and I didn't feel right, adults can be tested
Absolutely,
as well?
yep. Sometimes you have to do a lot of searching to find out what it is. You have to do a lot of avoidance of certain foods, so it's a process, but yes, with the allergist help, you can do that.
Okay. Now, someone with an allergy, do they have to ingest it, or is there other ways that anaphylaxis can take over their body? I mean, how does it work?
And that too is controversial. An allergist, my daughter's allergist, said that it cannot be inhaled, that it cannot be through vapors, that it has to be ingested. And it makes sense to me, because how can somebody have an allergy if it's doesn't get into your body, unless it's a environmental allergy. I've heard other stories of people that say, even the smell of something triggers an allergy in them or their child. But then again, is it more psychological that, that could trigger the reactions? Your body's very powerful in your mind.
Sure, placebo effect kind of thing.
And smell is one of your best senses, so that's controversial. But I would say if you do have an allergy to something, then certainly don't be around that food product at all. Schools have tables that are designated now for peanut-free. Most schools are going completely nut-free. So public is getting much better about protecting people that do have allergies.
Great. So let's say you do have an allergy, and I can imagine, for your daughter, for instance, going to a party or not knowing who's showing up with what has got to be a terrifying experience. How would you recommend that someone with an allergy go about kind of handling it on their own? You said avoidance of the party, but kind of the social element. I mean, is it maybe eat before you show up and just avoid all the great food, or is it kind of...
Well, that you could do that. You could bring your own food, and I know that's not fun. And I, as a parent of, because it's happened actually to my daughter at parties, I actually hosted a cooking party and told the lady that set up the party that my daughter had a nut allergy, because I know a lot of the products had nuts in it, or peanut. So I even, by telling her, she came to my house and she had made some cookies. My daughter was about 6 at the time, had one bite and was telling me her throat wasn't feeling good. She put a tablespoon of peanut butter. She forgot. So something that simple, and even if you remind people, unless they're living that day to day, they do forget it. My family forgets it. I'll go to a family function, they'll have nuts sitting out, and so you just have to really be your own advocate. And again, unless you see the label or talk to the person, you know exactly what's in that food. There really is no 100% guarantee on that. And another thing people don't realize that are hosting a party is cross-contamination. If you used a pan to make a baking pan to make peanut butter cookies, and you just wiped it and now you're doing rolls on it, the protein in the peanut is in that pan, and heat makes it come out even more. So now there's proteins from the peanuts in the rolls.
Wow, and that's enough to make a reaction.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, so I guess if when in doubt, just maybe just flag it if you know someone's with an allergy, or just something that I think we all just need to be more conscious about.
Yes.
Like you said, it is on the rise and it is more prevalent. So
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the insight, and to all of you back home, we hope you, from all of us here at AmeriCare and Boomer Health at Home, we hope you have a wonderful and safe holiday. And as always, stay healthy, Michigan.